Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to another of our Webinar Wednesdays, hosted by the CSU Bakersfield Small Business Development Center. Good afternoon and Happy New Year. I'm Kelly Bearden and I am your host today for webinar number 257. And we have a great special guest. Tom Weir is joining us, longtime contributor to the SBDC and a lot of other small business success here in Kern County. And Tom will be joining us with the Blueprint to Small Business Success, that wonderful canvas that he developed a few years ago and actually did a webinar for us on this same topic about 4 or 5 years ago. But we'll get to that in a moment. So a preview of today, January the 4th, 2023. So what we're going to be doing is, at least in the month of January and throughout 2023, is bringing you tools to help you succeed in your business in 2023. We are under the impression that 2023 is going to be like 2022 and 21 and 20, whereas it's going to be a challenging business environment. And so the more tools that you have, the more that you can do to bring your business in line with some of the expectations in the economic side of things and your own business goals and strengths, weaknesses, and so forth is going to be great. So bringing you more tools for 2023 is what we're going to be about, and continuing to support your small business. We're going to provide you a little capital access news today. We will have the economic news that is kind of a must for 2023. And a lot of our special guests will be talking about that in much more detail than we do each Wednesday here on Webinar Wednesday. Also, your Blueprint Small Business Model Canvas by Tom Weir. We'll get into that today, obviously. And we really want you to stay tuned throughout 2023 to Webinar Wednesday. You know, just a few things coming up in 2023 as we will have an update on some of the new law changes. As many of you are aware, the minimum wage jumped up to $15.50 on January 1st. Happy New Year's Day, by the way. Yeah, for those of you that were less than 25 employees, you were paying $14 an hour. All of a sudden, you're jumped up to $15.50, and I do realize that is an over 10% increase in wages that has already occurred to you in your business. And for those that were already at $15 an hour, it's a minor jump from $15 to $15.50. So we will have an update on the California laws and the rules and regulations that you need to know as far as from a business perspective. We'll do that later this month. We'll also have our favorite economist from California State University joining us. I believe we've had probably about 5 of them from CSUB's Department of Economics, and we will stay up with that and kind of stay current on what's happening here in Kern County, throughout Central California, the United States, and the world. Also probably happening on Webinar Wednesday, we're going to be talking a lot about some of the new changes in some of the capital that's out there for you. A lot of the changes that are going on in some of the newer programs to help you access capital and find money for your particular business. So a lot of reasons to come back to Webinar Wednesday every Wednesday. So as always, Tom will be here to take your questions. He won't, well, he's not always here, but he's here today. But always we will answer your questions to the best that we can. We will also have a poll. So let's jump into a very simple poll today. And the poll today is going to be on staffing. So the poll question for today is, what is your anticipated hiring plan for 2023? Do you hope to add staff? Do you hope to retain your current staffing levels? So kind of be where you are at the beginning of the year. Would you like to reduce your current levels? I mean, nobody likes to reduce their current levels and reduce employees, but in a tough environmental time, it's necessary. Or I don't have any plans at all. I don't have or plan any new employees. So there you go, 4 choices for our first poll question of 2023. And it's on what is your anticipated hiring plans for 2023? Sure, it's the first week of the year and we've already busted out the minimum wage increase. For many of you, nearly 11% additional hiring costs, not including the costs that go along. So what are your hiring plans? I hope to add staff. I hope to maintain my current level of staffing, like to reduce my staffing, or I do not have any plans to hire or fire employees. Wow, 70% of you have already responded. Thank you so much. Always like to have that 60% threshold, but when I hit 70, it's always an added bonus. So thank you for participating. Give you a last couple seconds to jump into our first poll question of 2023 on your anticipated hiring plans for 2023. And with that, we are going to give you a last shot and in the poll. And with 75% of you reporting, that is fantastic. 50% of you out there hope to hire more people and add staff. That is really, that really caught me by surprise, I'll tell you right now. The added cost that it is for hiring more people and economic uncertainty coming with the threat of recession and reduction of sales and all that. 50% of you out there hope to or want to add more staff in 2023. 43% of you are kind of wanting to, don't have any plans to go one way or another. Maybe some of you are sole proprietors and don't have employees. Maybe you're currently fully staffed at this point. 43% of you, 7% hope to retain your current staffing levels, and 0, I repeat, 0% right now feel a need to reduce staffing to lower levels. And that is with 75% of you reporting. So nice sample size out there. So thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And let's move on. So let's actually get rid of the poll first, and then we'll move on. And by doing that, let's talk real quickly about some possible programs for 2023. First, I'd like to give you a real brief Dream Fund update. The California Dream Fund, out of the Office of the Small Business Advocate, actually is pretty much winding down for 2022. There are some of us that hold out hope that in 2023, the program might come back. And if not, there hopefully will be some local options that are available for communities throughout our 14-county Central California region. We know of one that is likely to happen here in Kern County. I'll give you a hint. It's the largest city in certain areas of that. So stay tuned for more information on that as that becomes available. Remember, the Dream Fund program was one that funded either $5,000 to $10,000, a new business start after you actually went through some training, went through actually a training criteria. Also, you worked on a particular business plan and uploaded your business plan and talked to one of our local SBDC or other consultants. Maybe it was another provider, but our SBDC consultants were pretty busy with about 60 clients in 2022, and happy to see many of those and get funded through the portal of lendistry.com. So hopefully there'll be more with the California Dream Fund in 2023. I know I've mentioned this the last few weeks, but it kind of struck me. It hit me hard. So I'm going to continue to mention, especially with so many of you wanting to hire out there, 50% wanting to hire. And what you need to do is contact America's Job Center, the employment training resource of Kern County, and also look at the on-the-job training program that will reimburse a lot of your costs, up to 90% for the first 3 months of a training program. Again, these are training regiments that are just really kind of a little bit more detailed than your average onboarding of an employee. Last year through, I believe it was through November, there were 460 on-the-job training contracts issued, but only less than 20% of them were going to smaller firms. I want our small companies to be able to take advantage of this. So please contact America's Job Center program. For those of you who were on last week, we talked about some of the pitfalls of the employee retention credit that some of our consultants, mainly Jay Thompson, was seeing in the community. So the ERC does remain an active resource. I believe throughout about the last year and a half that we have talked about this program or mentioned it on Webinar Wednesday, that for many of you, we really recommend you contact your accountant. It does involve the amended filing of payroll tax returns going back to the quarter of 9/30/2021, which also could result in the amended filing of your personal tax returns. So please have somebody you trust with your financial issues look into that for you. Our capital quarter segment. So our quarter, not to be confused with a 25-cent piece, but our capital quarter is just a reminder that many of the idle deferments are coming due. If you have any particular issues, you could either contact the SBA. The SBA does have a call center for idle, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. So that was the one where you received a loan for 3.75% for 30 years with a 30-month deferment. And as that deferment comes due, your payments are also come due. So do please look into that. The California Micro Grant Program. Talked about that over the last year, but it still has funds here in Kern County. And the California Micro Grant Program, you can still apply through May of 2023. It is for those businesses that had sales of less than $50,000 in 2019 and also did not receive the California Relief Grant. So you did not receive either $5,000, $15,000, or $25,000 based on employees through lendistry.com last year. Also, there's going to be some new equity and investment programs coming from the state small business credit initiative in 2023. We'll be talking about those more as well. So there's a lot of what is coming to California, and it's coming in this, as you know, one of my favorite words, tranches. And as soon as one of the tranches gets spent, the state can bring in more money and get it out to more small businesses. So a few of the programs that are out there, again, are programs that are actually through the iBank out of GoBiz with the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development, and also from the CPCFA. And you're testing me on acronyms today. So that would be the California Pollution Control Financing Authority. And they have a program called CalCap. A program that I'm really interested in having more people access, and we are having a few clients that are starting to work on their collateral support program. And as I've mentioned in the past, this would be something where you are short on collateral, but everything else seems to make sense in your deal. There's a way that this program can fund or can provide some collateral support to make that particular deal happen. And that's what we're about here at the SBDC. Also, loan guarantees, loan guarantee programs, similar to your SBA guaranteed program, your 7A program. So loan guarantees are a program listed through the iBank, and there's about 8 entities throughout California that make those particular loans. Some of the economic corner, so our economic corner, kind of where the economy intersects small business. It can be the economy steamrolls small business, and that's what we're hoping to avoid. So in 2023, really with the interest rate hikes that we're seeing, as interest rates have now on a variable loan products have started to go up, really as individual businesses, we hope that you are able to take a chance, take a look at how those interest rates are going to affect your business, and how they can affect them is a higher monthly payment. So being able to account and actually make those higher monthly payments with higher interest rates are one thing we hope you fully take advantage of. And also estimate your situation on recession pressures and how they can affect your customers and clients. So this is something with the economy as a recession pressures come on. And I think the latest statistic that I read, I don't want to throw out too much economic data because we have economists that do that for us, but How it can apply for your small business is to estimate, maybe the pressures that it's going to create on your customers or clients. So that could have an impact on your sales and also on collecting your accounts receivable from other businesses that might be impacted maybe more severely from the pressures of recession. So something to keep in mind, particularly if you are heavily kind of handed into a few or even one customer. So if you have a limited amount of customers or clients, you have a lot of your eggs in the same basket, etc. So also, as we strategize in 2023, kind of continue to look at how economic conditions can affect your plans in 2023. And that might be opportunities that might be coming up and some of the other things that are happening. You can go to our YouTube channel and you can find a dated version of this presentation today that you're going to find from 2018. You'll notice the number of hits on there are much higher than a lot of our other programming that we have. Hence the reason we've come back with the blueprint of small business success. But also, if you need more information on COVID and some of the idle resources, a great resource from the SBA, Israel R. Jr. did that before us back on October the 12th. Cybersecurity, which is continuing to make headlines, is a lot of the issues that are affecting small businesses. It used to be medium-sized and large businesses that were hammered with cybersecurity and a lot of the issues and threats that happen with internet-related transactions, and particularly from a financial side of things. So we have Mr. Bill Breton back in September, gave a great cybersecurity. Also, HR law, we're going to be updating that this month. But if you were wondering what happened maybe around the midterm last year, because California tends to have 2 cycles during the year for where you see significant law changes. Obviously, the biggest one is on January 1st, but also on July 1st, some laws are actually put on the books and things can change at that time. March 30th, we had our Cal Savers, which is the mandatory retirement program for those of you that have 5 or more employees. So that is in effect now. And if you do have 5 or more employees and do not have anything with Cal Savers, contact your local SBDC, contact the state of California Treasurer's office, or go to YouTube and watch what Jonathan Herrera had to say about Cal Savers. And then also we had just really a fantastic conference back on October 7th, Eastern Sierra Capital Summit, where we had 12 speakers, and much of those proceedings are on our YouTube channel. So a lot of different opportunities, a lot of the programs that we talk about and we've talked about today, more details available there. For those of you, we've talked about this, if you applied for the restaurant revitalization grant, many of you have found out that that particular fund, the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, you did not get it. You might be able to actually go through and get a tax credit if it clears both houses of Congress. Congress right now, a little bit of a stalemate. Hopefully they'll get that resolved and resolved later today. And we can move on with some of the business at hand, such as hopefully a tax credit for restaurants that did not receive the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, yet they did apply back in May of 2021. So a lot of tools. We're going to continue to have our SBDC toolbox out and ready for you, and more tools. You know how much I love this one, and we'll talk about it. I just, it's my New Year's resolution to talk about cash flow forecasting more than I already do. So we won't get into that now because we need to get into the blueprint of small business success. And to do the blueprint of small business success, yes, he's peering into your picture over here. He is live in the studio today. And he did notice he looked a little younger in that picture. But Tom Weir is really a veteran business consultant. Tom has been at the SBDC here longer than I have, has done various different tasks. He's been a lead consultant. He was the interim director for a while. He has done a lot of things with not only the SBDC, but with a lot of private paid consultants. So Yes, I think that's in the second paragraph. So we don't share this with Tom before we introduce him. So, but Tom focuses in one area. I have to talk about a little bit about the value that Tom has been to the SBDC and our clients. And whereas I am not really a process individual at all, Tom is all about process, which is had him go through various different canvases that he will share with you before creating this one that we think works with 95% of the businesses out there. New and existing businesses can use this canvas and move on and try to use it as a working tool in your business. Tom even received in 2019 the State Star representing the Central California SBDC network at our national SBDC conference that year. Tom's a graduate of CSUB Communications. He's an alumni. He's a roadrunner. Also graduated from Moorhead State University with a bachelor's degree in business and economics. Tom, it is great to have you with us. Thank you so much. And thank you, Maureen, for assisting us, our producer, Maureen Busher-Dang today. So let's move on with Tom Weir here.
Kelly, thank you so much. What a beautiful introduction. And Happy New Year to all of you out there. I'm pretty honored to think that this is the kickoff of a webinar series that's been going on how many years now?
Almost 10.
Almost 10 years. So we get to give you a tool that will kick the new year off, hopefully very successfully for you as well. As you think in terms of what do you want to innovate or change or new ideas you have in your business, especially if you're a startup, we've got something that's very strategic that allows you to pretty much cut to the essence of your business thinking. It's called Lean. And as you look at some of the history, that's the blueprint we're going to take a hard look at in just a minute. But as you'll notice, coming up next is the shot of there we go, the Lean. Lean is an operative word in a series of books that, as I said, cut to the essence of your business thinking. And it is a process, so I did fall in love with it immediately. As you go through these series of books that came out, you'll notice there's a pattern to them. The next one was 2013, and they get more illustrative. And the more visual they are and illustrative that they become, the more I enjoy them for the fact that I'm a graphic designer as well. I think people relate to the ability to see something more visual and diagram oriented. And you'll see that in the 2014, as you see some key words coming up, value propositions, business model generation, etc. This one is highlighting the fact that customer development is a real critical highlight in the Lean series. To cut it to its essence, are there even customers for your business startup or this existing expansion or new idea or a new product you want to offer? There are opportunities to talk to them. What do they want? And what do they want that you're giving them or not giving them? These are all going to be part of our conversation here. Even the next Lean that was available in 2014 shows how to build a startup, but whether it's a startup or an existing business, you'll notice that both sides of the line have different words, if that makes sense, but one is theory and one is practice. And I thought how important that is to emphasize the fact that you can have a thought or an idea in theory, but what really happens in practice. And that, again, is what this tool we're going to show you today is all about. It gets to the practical side of it pretty quickly. The next opportunity we have to look at 2015, and again, we're seeing similar images and even a box and arrow, as I call them, really getting to the heart of a process. But not to get into that as much as next, you'll notice that there's an awful lot of thinking that you're either going to fail, you're going to win in business. And again, where this tool can be helpful is that you can create iterations along the way. You can fail several times, as the diagram shows on the right side of that page. and still get to a winning position at the end. And that's because you can iterate, you can adapt and modify your business, and that's what successful businesses do. And that's what this canvas, this model, whatever you want to call it, that next slide we show it as a canvas. That was in 2016, and it's really the pedigree, I guess, from the inspiration I got to create one that cut to the heart of everything. But you can see something very similar to what you're going to see that I developed for this purpose. The next slide as well, it's a 2017 iteration of key activities, value propositions, customer relationships, customer segments. They can be diversified or homogenic, key resources, etc. You see a lot of terms like that. And again, I think we cut it right down to the essence with a lot of clarity. I think number one, I think all these lean concepts, including the tool we're going to show you, offer a lot of clarity of purpose in your business decisions. It offers a successful process for organizing your thoughts. It gives you an opportunity to show gaps or questions that may not have been resolved yet in your thinking. It'll produce those quickly, and it gives you the ability to correct course. And that's why I like to say that this particular blueprint can really be plan A as well as plan B, C, and D. The real issue is that when we think about time, money, and energy, they're finite. And if you go even back to the Michael Gerber books, he didn't think most businesses went out of business because of financial issues. He thought they went out of business because they just ran out of time. They just ran out of energy. They just couldn't do it anymore. They couldn't make a success out of it. So we don't want that to happen to any of you, obviously. If this tool becomes a little guide you have in your back pocket, so every time you're making strategic changes to your business, or again, as we said, you're just a brand new startup, you've got to consider these 9 blocks. These are going to build a successful model if you adapt to them correctly. And the way a lot of my clients have done it is they'll even make this blueprint a big poster blow up and put it on the wall. They can take Post-it notes, and every time they think of something that involves their business or maybe a problem or frustration, they can write it down and then find the block it goes into, so they can at least clarify what area they're trying to resolve. So let's take a look at the actual blueprint. Yeah. Next slide would show that. There we go. So this is what I adopted from that wonderful pedigree in the lean thinking books. You can see that right at the top, we're talking about not running out of time, money, or energy, because you can make this an experiment that can give you a lot of flexibility to move quickly as you go through these boxes. Because once you can articulate what area, what arena in the business you're in that isn't working, you can start being very flexible about how you offer change to your business, if you will. Now, I've got this kind of C idea: condition, change, claim, competition, contact, customer, compile, costs, and compensation, as you can see in the 9 boxes. But the ones that probably aren't as easy to explain are condition, change, and claim, if we start there. Especially when someone's starting out in business, or again, as we said, so I'm going to kind of throw it out there that we're talking about both circumstances. You're always thinking about what's happening in the marketplace and what's going on in your industry that causes you to act right now. It's causing this decision to move or start a business. Is the answer based on assumptions or facts? That would be the most critical thing we could ask of you. I think of some startups way back when, oh, you want to start a trucking company. Well, why do you want to start a trucking company? Well, my boyfriend drives a truck. Well, what's going on in the industry that says that your boyfriend should be driving a truck and you should be starting a trucking company? I don't know. Well, maybe you should know. Maybe you should find out what's going on in the industry, what's going on in the marketplace that tells you it's time for you to move. You've got an idea. You've got to change your business that's going to be productive and profitable because, hey, I can see the evidence in the marketplace. That pull and push thing, that's easy to describe. You're either pulled, like we're saying, into the marketplace because there's something going on that you see that maybe not everyone sees right now. It might be a new opportunity for a business. If it isn't that trucking company, maybe it's a new social media consulting firm. Well, what tells you that? Well, I've run into so many companies that I think, because I follow social media, aren't doing a really good job, or what is going on there. Well, you could be pulled into the marketplace in that regard. If you're pushing, it's usually something, I guess, like maybe Jobs, when he first identified and introduced us to the iPhone. It never existed. We didn't know what in the world it was, so he kind of pushed it on the market. But boy, once we got a hold of those telephones, we loved them, didn't we? And we still do. So maybe it is something more innovative. It's an invention that you think the world needs. It solves a problem that you see. And that's really what the change box is all about. If you looked at the first box, the condition, what's the problem going on out in the marketplace? The change we could just as easily call the solution. What do I see as the most important thing that you could do to change or improve what is happening? And I go back to my favorite question in that box is, what must be true for your idea to work? That kind of relates to the assumption idea in the first box, doesn't it? If I'm assuming certain things are going on and they're really not, that could bode poorly for my new business, could it not? What's really going on that's true? And how do you get to the truth? Sometimes you can't. I mean, there are a lot of opportunities on the internet today, in particular, to find research. There are ways to practically go about finding out if your idea is really a problem out there, and what kind of research could I do to support my assumptions. Other times you can't, and that's where these other boxes come in so helpful, because we have opportunities to experiment through this business model. We have ways to adapt and change by talking to our customer, probably is the primary way to do it. Actually going out in the market with a product and finding out that nobody wants it would sure be a shock. And that would be one way to learn. But what if it was just a small adjustment to it and then it was fully accepted? So if you go into the third box, that claim, you can see that I think I have a slide just for the claim. And in that, these are questions we considered. And if we look at change, there we go. How could you fix, change, or improve what is happening? What must be true for your idea? We just said that, but I'm going to add to that. What's the value this product or this service actually offers? And are we talking about, you need to delineate, are we business to consumers, or are we business to business? That has a factor, obviously, in how we analyze these things. And people do look for methods to help them with the challenges or jobs they must accomplish every day. I mean, they've got to get the poodle clipped, and they've got to get the car washed, or they have to get the car gassed, and they've got 1,000 other things they do besides the work that they do, and especially if they have a family. And what can we do then as we look at what we're offering the market that makes and alleviates the customer pain, or certainly gives them gain? You'll hear that. What's their pain and what is the gain you can offer? These are all claims. These are the values that you bring to your customer. It needs to be really thought out and explored, because when you think about it, it can be quite an extensive list. I mean, simply helping people save time may turn out to be the biggest thing we're all looking for. It certainly has had an impact in my life, and I always have put that at the top of the chart. But what are the gains that you bring to people? What are the benefits? What is the value you can bring to the market, specifically to the clients and customers you want in that market, that literally can become the foundation, obviously, to all your contacts with your clients and how you're going to certainly market and advertise to them, which comes up a little later here. So let's just talk about competition next. Competition, the fourth C we're highlighting here. We went through the condition or problem. We had change or solution. We wanted to talk about what value we think this new idea, this expansion of our business, this new product, this new process or service that we're going to offer, or brand new business on the planet. What about competition? So if you're like the first iPhone and had no competition, let's say, that's one way to go into the marketplace with a unique product. But if there is competition, then a lot of other factors come into play, don't they? Now you don't want to be you want to be branded in some manner or form. You don't want to be considered a commodity. Then you're just looking for then your pricing gets impacted. So all of the things we're going to talk about, they're systemic throughout a business. But again, let me get back to my topic, competition. How are you different from them? And how will you outperform them? And then you get into that whole arena of perceptions. How are you perceived out there in the marketplace? And especially how are you perceived against your competition? But it's something you can't divorce from your strategic thinking and your business planning. And that's why it's an important component of these 9 boxes that are intended to help you with your blueprint for the startup or existing business expansion. The customer now becomes the biggest box on the right side. You can see you're listing the customer characteristics that maybe initially you're assuming, or you have observed, or you have verified. Especially if you've been in business long enough, you should be able to tell us in pretty detailed notes what makes your customers. What do they like and not like? Why do they like you over the competition? But if you're a little fresh, or it's a new idea and you're being innovative at this new year juncture, you can't, and the next note I note here, you can't convince the customer that they must have this problem you perceive or assume. You really have to know it's real. Do they even care about the jobs or this pain and gain that you're addressing? And then kind of sliding into how you contact them. That last question is, where do they congregate online as a community? But back to the customer itself, what are there things that are alike, and really analyzing who makes your customer. Are they family oriented? Are they single? Are they male? Are they female? Are they, etc. All those issues that tell you the characteristics of a customer, but and even probably more importantly, the psychographics of a customer. Why do they buy, and why do they like this object in blue versus green? These are all things you need to discover. But if you're actually out in the marketplace and not finding these customers and this value you're bringing to be true, again, it goes back to, what must be true for your idea to work. And you've got to get to the essence of that. Going into the contact then, of course, and these are all separate processes by themselves once a company is finally tuned and operating with those within those processes. Let me center myself a little bit there. How will you reach your target market is a great question. How will you generate those leads? How will you convert leads to sales? How will you fulfill your promise? How will you deliver your product or service? And, write this down if you haven't thought through that. But you can see there's nothing real magical or you can understand that all of these things seem pretty practical and straightforward, is I guess what I'm trying to say. And yet I talk to clients that don't think through each of these steps. So this blueprint becomes a process. It can be certainly a precursor to a full-blown business plan, And the investment in a full-blown business plan, it can come after you've done the experimenting with these 9 boxes, because you can adjust things quickly here. It's intended to keep you lean and flexible so that your time, your money, and your energy isn't outrun by this business, that you get it into a format that works as a business model and works for you and works for your customers successfully, so that you can sustain this business and then you can grow this business. So jumping down into costs then, and I'm sure we could get into an accounting webinar at another time, but it's intended to show you that you obviously have costs going into a business or creating something new in your business, or either startup costs, there's sunken costs, and you get into, are they recoverable or not at another time. But the idea is that what are your costs? You're looking at, can I afford this? Do I need some kind of support financially to do this? Do I need some leveraging through loans, whatever? The compensation, well, we get into compensation. Well, the basic question, and we had it at the top, it was so important. How will you produce, deliver, and market your product or service? And did you notice the and? How will you make money? Some people I talk to don't really have that nailed down. You'd think that's kind of silly, but how are you going to make your money? And what is your pricing strategy? And there are certainly 3. You can be below market, at market, or above market. What's the name of that gym that's it was just in the news because they just said they weren't going to go along with January, so they said it's a very expensive gym, and they're definitely above market, I guess is what I was going to offer there. So as sales grow, what will be the cost in time and money to expand the business? What is your tolerance for risk? What is the appropriate amount of leveraging if borrowing money is necessary for growth? How much money will you take from your business to enhance your lifestyle versus leave in the business? And I think it's also a thought, and I probably should have brought it up on the cost side, is that do you need no, it's right here, I'm sorry, at the top of the compensation. Do you need a fresh transaction for every sale that you make? Or do you have something that's that generates revenue and purchases through some kind of membership or other method? All things to consider. And then we have a little box at the bottom to check the entity. Selecting the proper entity is something you do, obviously, when you start your business right off the bat. So, Kelly, what do you think? Have I missed anything here as we kind of look at, we got these 9 building blocks. There's a rhyme and a reason for each of them, and it's something that has to come into your strategic planning as a business owner. And where does that leave us? Should we open up for questions, or do you?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, because one thing Tom is making this available. This is a copywritten document of his from 2018. And he's going to make it available. Now, we've been cheating because, we have these 11:17 version of it right in front of us. And Tom has graciously in the past made literally wall size amounts for this. So having the bigger blueprint in front of us has been probably a little more beneficial for us than for you. But what we're hoping to do is we are going to provide this to you, but we're going to have a little discussion right now on the blueprint and what its intent, its purposes, and its value is. And from a value standpoint, I think it's really incredibly valuable, because what it does is it gives you one sheet of paper to where you can get almost all of your business idea on one piece of paper. And so many different aspects of your business. I like to think of it as an executive summary to a business plan, not formalized, of course, but in very generic term, all on one piece of paper.
Yes.
So And it kind of identifies a lot of things. And I also see the value from the standpoint that what it's able to do is to assess so many different parts of that particular business. And really gives the opportunity to the entrepreneur, either if you have a startup business or if an existing business that's looking to either expand or is looking to respond to an opportunity that's available. So Tom, let's go through a few of these boxes and a little bit maybe on how from a practical side of things.
Okay.
When I demonstrate this thing, I really like to use an example like a pizza business, because I think everybody understands what a pizza business is. Everybody eats enough pizza. Everybody has bought pizza. There's probably some people out there that sell pizza, and there's so many different sides of things. So if I was to, let's say, if I was to do a Kelly's Pizza business right now, and I was going to go to your first box on the left as far as the condition, I'm looking at the problem that exists right now, potentially for me to expand or grow into that business.
So the market already too large for you, right?
Well,
it doesn't have room for another pizza business.
So I would need to be creative. So maybe I've come up with a recipe for a fabulous Thai Mexican infused pizza. Greatest thing in the world, really tastes great. So now what I want to do is I want to try to maybe see if this is going to work for me. So one way that I might do that is I actually do a lot of the steps here, go through a lot of the boxes to take my Thai infused pizza and to see if people are willing to pay for it. And that I think is a great idea or model that, and you can even do this by, I think, adding products to existing businesses or adding services. So maybe I have an existing pizza business and I just want to say, okay, how can I quickly, down and dirty, rough shot these 9 boxes into this new product that I have? What are your thoughts, Tom?
So maybe we have a different delivery process, let's say.
That could be an option.
Maybe you see sometimes when they make heart-shaped and different shaped pizzas for different holidays, and maybe that's the uniqueness. But then would that last long enough to sustain you for an entire year? The delivery process we see usually going out in little cars, right? And delivering to the door. They usually have a no wait line if you're picking up, but then that's not rather creative either, is it?
Right. So my condition I'm trying to solve is I have a new flavor, so to speak, for pizza. I have a new recipe. I have a new product, a new pizza product that's out there. So my problem is, number one, is the condition is that there's not enough variability in pizza right now. I think the consumer wants more. So I'm coming up with a Thai infused pizza and I want to see if I can get it out there. So that's my condition or my problem that I'm fixing. My change that I'm making is the solution is that I'm going to produce those. I'm going to produce it as my claim, which is it is a unique value proposition. And I think it offers value to both businesses and to both consumers. And that there's a lot of different things I can have. But then, Tom, I run into a little problem because then I run into competition.
And then I would say, oh, I don't, because they don't make that flavor, you might say.
But they don't have to have that flavor. There's 50 other flavors they can have.
Then that could become an issue. But how, and then if it puts you in the customer category, then that's where you could start testing it. Maybe you give out free samples at major city events, or
that's an idea.
You give away these pizzas free on the street just to sample or get samples, give out samples to hear what people have to say. Do they rave about it, or do they say, oh, you should, this, I don't like this, or yeah, you should be selling this? I mean, you can talk directly to people, but you're probably going to have to find like a farmer's market or a venue somewhere where you can actually get people tasting this without investing in a brick and mortar. And
that's right.
And again, that's what gives you the flexibility. You don't have to start up with a brick and mortar and say, I'm selling these Thai pizza flavors because I've determined they will work. You need to really test in the marketplace if people will gravitate to it.
So for me, it comes down to, I think you have 9 boxes here, and it comes down to box number 7, customer. So it comes down to the customer characteristics. And you know what? There's probably a Thai infused pizza out there. Or there's maybe several of them. So mine could even be, I could even make mine more unique. But it comes down to the customer and the customer characteristics. And right now, where I'm sitting here is either to start up my pizza food truck, my pizza mobile truck, or to expand on my existing pizza location with new products, is to find out from my customer what they want and what they value.
And kind of like what Starbucks always does, right? They'll hand out free samples if you come into their store to say, hey, have you tried this or have you tried that? And then they hopefully increase sales, or they drop that product depending on the reaction they get from the customer, right? The customer is always right.
And that's a form of, customer discovery, which I think is incredibly important part of this particular process. Tom creates this blueprint that you put all your information down, but then really you don't really know if it's going to be a success or not until you do that customer discovery, until you reach out to the customer with either a sample, with a coupon way to come back, or by just engaging them in conversation. What do you like in pizza? What are some of the flavors you like? And just talk. And the funny thing about customer development or customer discovery, when you're developing your customers, this is an easy one because everybody eats pizza, almost. Not everybody, but almost. So you have the opportunity to reach out and do a lot of different things. And there's so much. When you look at the pizza industry, I think, Tom, you're looking at so many different segments and so many different channels, which are in that contact box right there, on how you're going to get that to those particular individuals. So there's so many different aspects. You see nonprofits involved in nonprofit aspects. There's take and bake pizza. There's delivery pizza. There's pickup pizza. There's personal pizzas. I can go on and on. There's so many different types of pizza products. So now I'm coming up with a Thai infused pizza that has refried beans on it. Top that. I think it's starting to sound pretty good myself. So we then do the customer box and really kind of accentuate and do a lot of time there by finding out. And I really think when I look at the 9 boxes here, small businesses do not spend enough time knowing and finding out about their customers and doing that type of customer development and that type of customer discovery. And that is the whole basis, I think, in using a blueprint like this.
Because that's where the experimentation comes in. I'm going to experiment to see if this works. And then I can create another iteration from that. Oh, they liked it, except they thought it was too salty. I cut down the salt on it. That's another iteration. Oh, now they're liking it better than they did before. But again, to go pay for research like this from an outside company is always costly, and most businesses don't have those funds available. So being able to talk directly to potential customers and existing customers is always the best idea. Mm-hmm. And it is an experiment, and it is an experiment that'll give you a yay or a nay. And then you've done your own research and you've done your own adjustments to whatever it is you're creating, especially this pizza flavor. And now you can hone in on, oh, this is the one they like. This really worked. Oh, look at the appetite the market has, no pun intended, mm-hmm. for this particular flavor.
Yeah, and with a food product, it's going to be easier because you have a sample, you have a product, you have something to taste.
Exactly.
But it can be done for any type of product where you are able to come up with questions and engage that person, that potential customer, on if they would buy it or not, and come to the determination if it's a viable idea. Okay, so as much as I like customer, but what the other thing I think this really does is it really engages a lot of people to go to the cost and the compensation. and really looking at your numbers and getting into potentially cash flow forecasting and certain other things, is it really gets people that really haven't spent a lot of time wondering about their cost or a lot about the compensation on how they'll make money. It really gets them to put that thought process in.
Exactly.
Okay, let's go and see if we do have a question here, Tom. Okay. Okay, so let's go with this question. Although entertainment production on location has moved north of Hollywood, none of it seems to be coming to this area. And when I go to the county's film production office, nothing seems to be happening. Wondering if there are any plans to woo this business since they are looking and Hot Atlanta is no longer on the most favored side. You traveled all the way to Atlanta, huh? You know, I would believe that there are things that are going on film production wise. There's a lot of stuff going on in East Kern, for example, and there's things going on throughout the area. I think there could always be more, and I think there's quite a long list of things that have happened in Kern County. So, but as far as the county film production office, I'm not exactly sure what is happening there, but I can actually look into that and try to answer your question off.
That's interesting.
We're also asked if we can send out a recorded video. Yes, we will send out the recording link of this, and we will also send out the actual blueprint that can be printed out and can be used, or you could actually make it into a maybe fillable PDF. Let's just hit the chat real quick and see what's in there. We're running long, Tom. And a lot of greetings and salutations. And let's see what else is out here. So, wow, Happy New Year, everybody. I think that pretty much fills it in. So be expecting a Tom Weir classic, the blueprint of small business success, a great way. And Tom, as a small business consultant, you're available to consult with individuals that want to know more on this on a one-on-one basis.
Absolutely. We can brainstorm on any one of these concepts to help you build a better blueprint.
So I saved the best for last. You know, not only do you have the canvas, but you have the author of the canvas able to sit down and go over it with you on a free basis, one-on-one. Can't beat that, can you?
No, I love it. I would look forward to that for sure.
Okay. Well, that wraps it up for number 257. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll be back next week with number 258. Tom, great job.
Thank you for having me, Kelly.
Looking forward to this canvas being used much more widely, much more effectively in assisting our businesses that are starting up and expanding. So for our producer, Maureen Busherdang, and for Tom Weir, I'm Kelly Bearden. We'll be back next week. Goodbye, everybody.